Pai nosso, que estais no céu, santificado seja o vosso nome. Venha a nós o vosso reino, seja feita a vossa vontade, assim na terra como no céu, assim na terra como no céu. O pão nosso de cada dia dai-nos hoje, ó Senhor. Perdoai as nossas dívidas, assim como perdoamos aos nossos devedores. Não deixeis cair em tentação, mas livrai-nos de todo o mal. Não deixeis cair em tentação, mas livrai-nos de todo o mal.
Hello, good morning, everyone. We are here once again with the United States Spiritist Federation for another talk of the week. And this week we have a very dear guest speaker, that is Daniel Rossi. And before we introduce Daniel, we are going to start with our prayers, and then we are going to introduce him and allow him to bring to us the beautiful message that I'm sure he prepared for us today. So I invite you all to raise your thoughts so that we can unite our hearts together in a prayer of gratitude for all the blessings that we are receiving, even in difficult times such as this one that we are living, that we may find ways to gather together, to put more initiatives such as this one together, to bring to each and every one home peace, harmony, love, friendship, and fraternal relationships. May at this moment we feel the loving presence of our benefactors, asking them to protect our guest speaker, Daniel, so that we can really learn from his lessons, from what he has prepared to us today. May our brother Jesus be with us, guiding us as he has been doing since the beginning. And we ask permission to start our session today. So again, if with great pleasure that we returned last week. As you know, we didn't have it, our weekly talk, because it was 4th of July here in the US. So this week we are starting again with Daniel Francisco Rossi. Daniel Francisco Rossi is a university professor in the social area of Curitiba, Paraná, and director of the Multirão Institute of Education for Children and Young People, a social organization that serves vulnerable families in southern Brazil. And today, Daniel is going to talk to us about the journey of life. As always, after the talk, there will be a chance for us to stay a bit longer with Daniel. So if you have your questions that you would like to bring to us, please don't be shy. Write your questions over there, and we will have a few extra minutes with Daniel so that we can cover everything. Daniel, thank you so much for being here with us. We are so very happy that you have have accepted our invitation and be with us, so everyone in the US can know about you, about the wonderful work that you do in terms of charity. So now it's with you.
Thank you very much, all of you. Our intention today is talk and learn together about the journey of life. That's the title that we gave to this lecture. There's a phrase in the book of Spirits by Allan Kardec that says, from atom to archangel is all evolution. Evolution is a very important phrase in our question today. We know, we believe that everything in the universe gets evolved. So we want to share our thoughts, knowing by science and the spiritualism, and put those things together just to reflect about these ideas. Life is wonderful. When we study life, the beginning of life, the matter of the universe, the process that since the beginning until today, the first cells, the first forms of life, until the complex life that we have today, we wonder about all these things. But the science believes that the material things, matter, found the way to life. And we know by spiritualism, the modern spiritualism, by Allan Kardec, that we have another component in this equation, the spirit. That's the great difference, about what science believe and spiritualism believe. So, goes on. There's a phrase in the next slide that the summary of what we mean today. Life was not created by chance. There's an intelligence behind creation. That's the meaning of central focus meaning that you have to talk with you, our friends. Life was not created by chance. There's an intelligence behind the creation. And we have to explain that these ideas in this idea in this at this time. The next slide, we can show you the first words of the Bible. Says in the Genesis, the origin. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light that was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. Well, the science looked at this phrase and said, oh, this is an incomplete idea. This is not the correct idea. But we have to remember that these phrases are a poetic language, limited by the vocabulary that they have at the time, many centuries ago. So we found the truth behind the words of this phrase. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, the universe, the matter. Science has a theory, Big Bang theory, to explain our universe. But Big Bang theory is not a theory about the creation of universe, but of development of the universe. Science doesn't know what is exactly we have at creation or before the creation. Some scientists tell that we have nothing, but from nothing, how can we build something? Or we have something that we don't know. It's nothing does not exist is a phrase by Allan Kardec in the book of Spirits. Nothing does not exist. Is there something that we just don't know yet? We, the science, don't know yet, and we don't know too. But the spiritualist has an explanation, a beautiful explanation, just to get our reflection about this life, the universe, everything that we know is not just built by the physical material things, the matter, the chemicals elements. We have a spiritualist view about this idea. We have the principle of the creation of spirits, and this is the difference that can spiritualism can add the vision of science, a new way of uh, to look at this goodness, the greatness of life. So we can we start talking about what science view in the next slide. 14 billion years ago, less than around 370,000 years, initially, various kinds of subatomic particles are formed in the stages. These particles include almost equal amounts of matter and antimatter, so most of it quickly annihilates, leaving a small excess of matter in the universe. So it's a perfection. The physical laws are perfectly, you have to comprehend this beauty behind all the process of creation. We have in the next slide this graphic show what science knows about life or about the universe. Everything that we can see, all the matter, all the light, all the galaxies, all the planets, all the stars, all the bodies, like our bodies, for example, everything is 4% of everything that science know now. 4% is normal matter. 21, 21% is dark matter, a kind of matter that science knows that exists, but they don't know yet what exactly is dark matter. We know that exists because the laws of gravity, but these matter don't react to the light, don't reflect light. So our scientists cannot study more deeply this subject yet. And 74% of our universe is dark energy, responsible to get all the galaxies each day longer, far from us. So all we can see in the vision of science is 4% of normal matter. This is a few years ago until now, the science discovered this information that we have in this graphic. So what kind of thing, what kind of creation, what kind of greatness we have that the science still uh, cannot still discover or study? There's many things that we know about from the spiritualism view about the journey of life. We can see in next slide some example of the vision of science. More than 100 years ago, William Thomson, known by the name nickname Lord Kelvin, said, "In the blue sky of classical physics, there are only two clouds to be cleared." They think at the time that the science are knowing everything about life, about the people, about the planet, about the universe. Almost saying that we just know everything. the science is almost ending your time because we just know explain every process of nature. Few years later of this phrase, we have the relativity from Einstein, the quantum mechanics from Planck, Bohr, Rutherford. We have the Hubble studying the galaxies from telescope and discovering that universe is not just our galaxy, but we have 1,000 million galaxies outside, and everything of these are the universe. It's just 100 years ago, and we have more recently Peter Reeves studying some particles called boson fields, uh, to explain where the matter begins on the chemical elements. And another scientist, Leon Lederman, wrote a book called God Particle. And many religions say modern spiritualism that the spiritualism has to step by step running with science, the real science, to discover our origin, to discover the things that explain the process of the universe. They don't know about God yet. The book, the original name of the book is Goddamn Particle, because this particle, boson of Higgs, is so difficult to find, to discover, to study. So the people of the marketing, from the editors, say, oh, let's take the God damn it, and write God particles just to sell more books. So many of us religious believe, oh, the science are discovering God. No, not yet. And we have right now many science that are thinking about these questions. What we have before the universe as we know? What kind of coincidence had to occur to life getting his forms? How many things we just don't know yet? And there's the point that we is about to start on the point of view of spiritualism on the next slide. The Spiritist book, Allan Kardec asks on question number 22. Matter is generally defined as being that which has extension, that which can make an impression upon our senses, that which possesses impenetrability. Are these definitions correct? And the answer of the spirits. From your point of view, they are correct, because you can only define in accordance with what you know. But matter exists in states which are unknown to you. It may be, for instance, so ethereal and subtle as to make no impression upon your senses, and yet is still matter, although it would be it would not be such for you. So, in these questions, more than 150 years ago, we know by the spirits that matter has exists in states very different that the science can describe right now. Many subtle in the forms that our instruments, the science instruments, cannot view yet, cannot measure yet. But each day, day, day by day, we can reach this knowledge about the really, really form of the real life that begins in the creation of the principle, the spiritual principle that we have inside us. In truth, we are this principle, this spiritual principle. This principle, spiritual principle, has to evolve in contact with matter. This brings matter and intelligence to the development, and brings to a spirit to a chance to develop the intelligence. It's two kind of things that we have to put it together: the spiritual and the matter. Together, we can evolve. Separated matter, it will be just matter, and spirit, just spirit without evolution. The context, our reincarnation, for example, my spirit, Daniel, are reincarnated in this body, and we have a chance to run away, chance to run, to walk, uh, to bring food, to hunt, to develop my ideas, the intelligence, just to survive, me and our family, our cities. This is the way that we learn about this modern spiritualism that explain the journey of life. The next slide we have in the book of Genesis, Allan Kardec saying in Item 10 about universal cosmic fluid. This is a great contribution of modern spiritualism to science. Said, there is an ethereal fluid that fills space and penetrates bodies. This fluid is the ether of our primitive cosmic matter, the generator of the universe and beings. Inherent to this ether are the forces that preside over the metamorphosis of matter and immutable and necessary laws that govern the universe. These multiple forms indefinitely varied according to the combinations of matter, localized according to masses, and diversified in their modes of action, depending on the circumstances and conditions are known on Earth and gravity as gravity, cohesion, affinity, attraction, magnetism, and electricity. So this is a great contribution. Everything, every state of matter, every force of nature, gravity, cohesion, affinity, attraction, magnetism, electricity, Emmanuel by Chico Xavier said that think is a electric and magnetism process. Right? So when you think, we, we form, we generate something. The science can put some electrodes just to make graphics about our thoughts, but we don't know what the forms are formed. And we know by this information that everything is became from universal cosmic fluid. Every chemical element, every transformation. We know about the process of development of universe that we form stars, for example, like our sun, and can fusion process transform hydrogen in helium, for example. We know that the bigger stars in relatively from our sun, we have another process that fusion helium and carbon in oxygen and another chemical elements. And the greatest stars of the universe can produce heavier chemical elements until iron. Iron is the final point. When the stars can try to fuse iron, they collapse itself and explode. When this explosion occurs, we have another heavier elements like gold, silver, and the other ones. We have these elements inside our bodies, the iron in our blood, calcium in our bones, and so goes on. So all these chemical elements are variation from the primitive element that we call universal cosmic fluid. All the forces that interact with these elements, gravity, electricity, magnetism, are variation of this universal cosmic fluid. this is a ether, like the older scientists say and try to discover. So I imagine that many years from now, the science will reach this knowledge. Every kind of thing that we know at the universe was a variation of this universal cosmic fluid. And everything that we have in the nature, the formation of the our Earth, for example, the planets, the formation of solar systems uh, outside the galaxies, are thinked by a greater intelligence before. That's the point that you want to show and reflect. Again, in slides, more one slide, is a representation of the cosmic fluids in all the universe, filling all the spaces that we know. And another one, please, we found in Genesis. On other words, they manifest under other aspects and display other characteristics unknown on this one. And in the immense expanse of the heavens, countless forces have been developed on an unimaginable scale, and we are little able to evaluate their greatness. This is a very important point of view, the contribution of spiritualism to science. In the next slide, we found a book called Evolution in Two Words, Chico Xavier and Jean-Louis Spirit said. We must further point out that the cosmic fluid or divine plasma is the force in which we all live amid the varied facets of nature, and the reason why it has been stated, and rightly so, that in God we move and exist. Raul Teixeira, here from Rio de Janeiro, a great professor and friend of mine, my tutor when I was younger, said, God is transcend ourselves and is inside us. So that explains that in God we move and exist because the cosmic fluid is a manifestation of the intelligence of God in all the universe. The parts the science know and the parts the science doesn't know yet. We have the next slide information about when we formed the Earth of 40.5 billion years ago. We have the core, iron core, and liquid core, so hot, so warm. And this produces a magnetic field that protects us from cosmic rays, the solar winds. So the conditions to form life uh, was prepared step by step in all the details to present us with the chance to live, to develop ourselves. In the bad comparison, we can say when my mother cooked for us, she will she would do a cook a cake, for example. So bad comparison, and she has the elements. We have some elements in the proportionals. Each element put uh, in an order that can produce this mass and produce at the end the cake with a correct temperature, correct pressure, and is another component on these physical elements to produce the cake of my mother or from my mother is love. So you have this spiritual element in this example, love, and you have the material elements to produce the cake as a final result. So is almost the same way. These greater spirits have so many elements to put together in order, one by one, the states of temperature, pressure, the protection of magnetic fields, and so goes on. The life can development itself as a first cell that we found on the next slide, for example. The cells, almost 4 billion years ago, cells resembling prokaryotes appeared. These first organisms use carbon dioxide as a carbon source and oxidize inorganic materials to extract energy. Lifetime of less universal common ancestor, the split between bacteria and archaea occurs. Photosynthesizing cyanobacteria evolved. They used water as a reduction agent, thereby producing oxygen as a waste product. So we can see the production of the oxygen that we will need in the future to develop more complex forms of life. So everything was thinked by these light spirits, spirits of light. eh? So we had a chance to live in a planet and develop ourselves, our spiritual mind, through this contact with the material bodies that evolved to, like anything, evolved from atom to archangel. In the next slide, you can see a graphic of the two main type of cells. Uh, Year by year, century by century, in this billion years ago, these cells were development itself. The plasma membrane and another situations inside the cells get development, uh, and the conditions inside water. We have the lightning strikes and more conditions to these cells get development. Billion years eh, on this process just to get life. We want to show to our friends this greatness of life that we have since the beginning. All the perfection, all the perfection, eh, just to to our knowledge, to give to evaluate our life from this knowledge. So going on, we have the third point in next slide. Six of Xavier, Spirit Emmanuel, on the book The Way to the Light. He said, under the merciful, wise guidance of the Christ, numerous groups of spirit workers labored on the earth. The artists from the spiritual realm built the world of cells, initiating in the primeval days the construction of the organized, intelligent forms of the centuries to come. Regarding the earliest cellular constructions, the idea of beauty was their concern from the start. Look the beauty that we have in this phrase. The artists from the spiritual realm build the world of cells. So it's an intelligent process. There's a supreme intelligence behind. And co-workers, co-creators, spirits that reach this condition of perfectly can work as an architect to God and on the process of creation, the, the planet, the conditions of these planets receive the conditions to have life. The moon was created not with a magic thing, but the thing that science can study. We have some theories, for example, about the creation of the moon. But what is important just to we have to know that is everything, every detail, the moon that can give more stability on our Earth, uh, just to make the cycle more slowly until 24 hours a day that we know these days. Every kind of thing of details was thinking about this spiritual point of view. So this is the great contribution that we have to learn about modern spiritualism to science or to ourselves, just to get evaluate the life and the forms that we live our lives. Next one, we have another graphic just to know the evolution of eukaryotic cells. That's a science graph, right? Until the plasma membrane, uh, 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 since the plasma membrane until the more complex ancestral photosynthesized eukaryote, right? We can know about from these slides that everything evolves in the universe. The next one, the same book, The Way to the Light, Sigurd Xavier by Emmanuel said, we had stated that a layer of gelatinous matter had enveloped the Earth in their innermost contours. Protoplasm was the embryo of all Earth's living bodies. The condensation of the mass soon gave rise to the appearance of the nucleus, thereby initiating the first manifestation of living beings. So we can see about this book of Emmanuel and Ruiz from Spirits by Allan Kardec that we have this science point of view by spiritualism, right? That we can see this all this process as an evolution process of everything that we know in the universe. The next one is a picture of what more or less could be this protoplasm that's said by the spirits, a gelatinous matter. And from this, in specific conditions, we have the first cells. And from there to a long way, eh, long and winding road, eh, just to get evolved more complex forms until the first forms of life inside the water, inside the oceans. That we have many processes at these times. The earth begins so hot, so warm, and sometimes the earth begins so became so cold, as a snowball. That the expression called by the scientists, a snowball earth, for billion years, until you have the first manifestation of life getting out of water, learning to breathe oxygen outside the water. You have the plants gaining surface in all the earth. In more complex animals, in Cambrian period, for example, explosion of many types of kinds of species. By genetic mutations, you have another one, a little thing here in this species that can have uh, 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 one line of development, a different development from the other one. So the chemical elements that produce all these things, we know that evolve. So, but behind this, you have a principle, a spiritual principle, principle that is connected to all of the living forms on the earth until God creates or gives an individuality to us. We just don't know yet how can this process of the creation exactly is right wrote in the book of spirits. We just don't know yet how the process to when God create ourselves. But we know that creating ourselves as an individual, very simple. eh, Just don't know the things. And we have this contact, the spiritual principle with the matter in the process of reincarnation of the bodies, just to develop our intelligence uh, beyond our instinct. And this intelligence develop our moral questions. What I have to do in our life, what I have to do to develop myself, what I have to do to reach out the conditions of these co-workers uh, by God. that work creating Earths along the universe. So we reach the state of Homo sapiens in the next slide. We have 2 million years ago, the first members of the genus Homo habilis, appear in the fossil record at 600,000 years. Evolution of Homo heidelbergensis, 350,000 years. Evolution of Neanderthals. So 250,000 years. Anatomically modern humans appear in Africa around 50,000 years before present. They start colonizing the other continents, replacing the Neanderthals in Europe and other hominids in Asia. Here is another contribution, a great contribution of modern spiritualism. The science, the scientists don't know how, with this quickly movement, we have a 3 billion years to develop the cells. And billion years development of many forms of life, reptiles, dinosaurs, and these all all the extinctions process that we have in Earth until the first Homo genus. But the Homo genus very quickly development until the Homo sapiens. How can it be? The science doesn't know. The science don't know yet. The science doesn't know yet. We have an explanation from modern spiritualism. Again, these spirits of light can do little surgeries in the body of the spirit that we call perispirit, just to adjust each one of adjust this of the goals that they have on beauty, on greatness. So these lost things that science doesn't know what it means or how can this process goes on so quickly, we just know that this is a process again involved by the greatest spirits of uh, uh, universe that works from God. A lot of them working in every part of the universe. We are not alone in the universe. Life goes on in every single planet, from every star that have planets surrounded by planets, uh, beginning with dust and rocks and billion years of hard work just to create the conditions to have life, and more billion years to the first cell until a body can receive this individuality that we all are. This can make us have more value to the capacity of griefs that we have, the capacity of love that we have, of, to learn, to reach, to conquest these things. So we have in the next slide a little provocation, but saying that the planet has undergone many transformations, and many elements created are fundamental to life today. Very hot periods, very cold periods. And we found in the Bible, the Matthews 5:13, you are the salt of the earth, like Jesus said. Right? You are the salt of the earth. And this passage reminds me that in this process of billion years of creation, we have many elements that was created. And now we can understand why these things happen the way of happening. For example, the ozone, the amid, was created by the acid rains. The rocks absorb dion, uh, carbon dioxide, and this kind of things. mix with water in some conditions, producing ozone that protects us from the cosmic rays, from the solar winds too. Right? We have the process that the first oxygen produced by this first forms of life in the photosynthesizing process. Right? This oxygen can mix the iron that we have in oceans to put it deeply at the ocean. So today we use this iron on our buildings, our bridges, for example. And the question of salt, in this example by Jesus, I know that the city of Salzburg, for example, or in United Kingdom, Greenwich, Northwich, this name "wich" is because of the importance of salt in our society. So everything was created thinking in our life today or at these times. Everything was created by God just to uh, propitiate ourselves, are conditions to development, our intelligence and our capacity of love. So we have information on the next slide by Emmanuel about this in the book The Way of Life, Chico Xavier. They say, the host of the unseen world performed as a definitive transition in the pre-existing very spiritual body of primitive humans in the sidereal regions and certain intervals of their reincarnations. A visceral transformation had taken place in the strata of the ancestors of the human race. So you can see this scientific explanation by the spiritualism. That's so beautiful. The host of unseen world performed a definitive transition in the pre-existing spiritual body of primitive humans. That explains the velocity of development of the first human being walking by legs and Homo sapiens, as you know. Right? And we have another one, slide that shows in graph this evolution from Australopithecus until Homo sapiens. The velocity of this development is explained by Emmanuel Spirit or Angel Ruiz or Allan Kardec, the spirits that write from the answering Allan Kardec questions. Just explain all the process. Somehow in some period of this evolution on this graphic that we have on screen, we are created like as an individual principle, not a collective like the others realms. We can one more slide, please. We can see in evolution two words, Chico Xavier and Reliefs, saying, however, to reach the age of reasoning and be called a human being, endowed with rationality and discernment, the being automatized in its impulses on the journey towards the angelic kingdom took no less than 1.5 billion years to arrive at the very beginnings, in which the elementary civilization of the Stone Age start to display some primitive skills. And Release gave us information here that maybe the first individuals was created in the Stone Age, for example, the creation by God of our individuality. But that information is very important to know. We don't have to learn to breathe. We don't have to learn to make our body process because this learn was automatized in this billion years of process of material development on the first cells, the complex cells, the first ocean animals, the first land animals, and so goes on. We can understand that we just have not just have only the material principle. We have our individual or spiritual principle that explain of these two situations, two kind of things that formed everything formed by God. Uh, uh, the material thing is a variation of the cosmic, the fluid universal cosmic. And the spiritual principle is a variation or a creation directly by God. Some part of this history, it begins our history. One more, please. And we have the Spirit's book, a chapter called March of Progress. Uh, this question, Kardec asked, does moral progress always follow intellectual progress? And the answer is a consequence of the latter, but does not always follow immediately. Kardec turned to answer. How can intellectual progress lead to moral progress? The answer, by making man comprehend good and evil. He can then choose between them. The development of free will follows the development of the intelligence and increase the responsibility of human action. So we see again another part of this progress. Right? Everything in our universe, known and unknown yet, was subject about the progress law, the evolutions law, or the laws of evolution. By making man comprehend good and evil, that's the function of the goal of intelligence. And from there, we can choose between them. The development of free will follows the development of the intelligence. So in the future, when everybody loves everybody, respects uh, the situations that we have in our families, in our cities, in our society, uh, wishing well to everyone every time, we can see a world in transition to a better world. The world reflects our mind. If we have now many suffering, many situations, bad difficult situations, is because we still have some faults, some actions, some difficult actions, some evil in our thoughts, some evil in our speaking, some evil in our way to do the things, wishing bad something, wishing bad someone. When we get learn that love that we learn from Jesus is the language of the universe, we can give another step in this process of evolution. So one more, and we have to maybe some conclusions. Right? From 10,000 years before Christ, the journey goes on until now. We developed the agriculture, we created the cities, the countries, the governments, the market, the work, technology, sustainability until today. In this process of evolution, we just know by now from the modern spiritualism that Jesus teach us the love expression. What we have from the future, the moral questions that we have to face, and the journey beyond, to then goes on. The last slide said in the conclusion, think, our friends here, think of a happy moment in our life. Just for example, each one of us can think right now, a few minutes, few seconds, about some moment in our lives that make us very happy. Can you remember? Think. Because you are what you think. We are what we think. You are where you think is. There's no distance for the spirits. We have the distance and time and space for material things. But we have no distance from the spirit's point of view. You can be with whomever you want to be right now from the think, our capacity to think. our thoughts. Imagine a happiness that is much greater than this and that lasts forever. This is a pale sensation compared to what the superior spirits, who are the co-creators of the universe, has day by day. Our goal, our destiny is reach this happiness, learning to love ourselves, learning to respect our bodies, learning to know how can we make a progress in our way to do the things. We have a phrase of Joanna Jansen's Body from the Franco in the last one. Our journey is to live. And she said, the only fatality that awaits you is the fullness of life. The only fatality that awaits you is the fullness of life. That's our wish to everyone, that we can learn this spiritual principle. We can see the beauty of God and the architects of God, this spirit of light that worked so hard just to get the conditions to we have our lives and live our lives so good as is possible, loving as is possible, because our destiny is this fullness, like Joanna Angeles said. So that's the little contribution that we want to bring to you, our friends, just to know that science is very important to the spiritists. Right? The point of view of modern spiritualism is a scientific point of view too. Right? And we have great contributions to our sciences for now and beyond, just to development another thoughts, discovering another things, our origins. How can we what created? And just we learn from Allan Kardec, from the spirits, all these things, all this greatness, all this beauty of life. So is this.
Oh, I was muted. Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. You actually went very deep in terms of bringing to us all this knowledge and understanding from the journey of life. And we have some questions for you, okay?
Okay.
Let's see the first one. How to counter the argument that the harmony of the universe is simply due to the law of large numbers?
How to counter the argument that the harmony of unions is simply due to the law of large numbers. I have to ask what this friend Glacio understand about the law of large numbers. For me, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So, Glacio, if you're hearing, if you could clarify, send another question. Okay. Another question here. How can one reconcile all this knowledge during a moment of suffering or even during this time of pandemic situation?
That's a great question. And I have to answer this way. All the things that we have in our earth, in the universe, are experienced to make us develop ourselves. We can develop our ideas, our thoughts, loving each other. But in our conditions, many times in our history, we have situations that put us in suffering, sometimes in pain. And this is a chance to evolve, to wake up for life, for example. I love this theme, the journey of life, because we can give the real value to life. Right? You see, you have so many different people in the world. passing so different kind of things. So many child suffering without a good education. Just these things, I believe, puts the world in movement to get some solutions more quickly. We have, for example, 50 years problems with education, and now everybody here in Brazil is running to get the better education because the time is arrived. And this kind of thing that we have passing in Brazil wake up so many people, professors, career professors that are getting back to study new forms to teach, for example, and put everyone in movement. So yes, we have a pandemic situation, moments of suffering, but all these moments exist to put us in movement, to make a reflection about our lives, how can we live our lives. I think it's something like that.
That's great. And I was thinking also, Daniel, we understand how hard it has been for everyone, and sometimes it makes it hard for us to reconciliate all the knowledge, all the understanding, not only in the spiritual view or field, but everywhere with the needs of us, the people, right? And right now is where we are. Perhaps people are even questioning all the education they had. I mean, what good is it for me now, without thinking about the whole picture, about the development of the spirit, like you put it there so well, in terms of even the evolvement of our physical bodies and brain and ability of reasoning. And this is one thing that we've been seeing so much, the suffering all around. And nowadays we have to be very careful not to put aside things that will be very important for us as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, we have another question here. Actually, it's one of mine. Why do you think science has developed so much antagonism with spirituality?
Well, the reason about this is our medieval story. For example, is Giordano Bruno, for example, is a religious guy that think about the universe. He believes that we have life in every planet that we can see in the universe. And the power of our friends of church at the time disagree with him, and pressure just to Nicolau Machiavelli and Galileo Galilei pass the same kind of thing. Darwin, when discovered the laws of evolution, for example, put his book a long time, waiting the right moment, just to not to shock the power of the church that believes that all the truth is in the Bible. Yes, the Bible represents the truth, but you have to consider that it is a symbolic or poetic language. You don't have to read as letter by letter in this sense of view. So the science has a reaction to the truth of church, because they need to measure the things, they need to look the things to put in laboratory. But all the advanced science that we have, we cannot still produce a single cell. We know about the elements, we know about the pressure, we know about the temperature. We have laboratories that has technology to do many things, but we are not capable to produce life, because life is not produced by physical materials. Is missing element, the spiritual element that you know about from the modern spiritualism. I think this subject.
Mhm. Okay, great, Daniel. And just before we end our conversation and presentation today, I would like, if it's possible for you, to tell about a little about the work you have been developing in Brazil, and perhaps even to send us, a link where people could get to know it better, and even to contribute. It's been very hard in each and every part of the world, and works of thinking about helping people, works of charity. We all, whatever we can help, whatever we can contribute, is always going to be a great help. If you could tell us a little bit about it, Daniel.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. Before, I have to ask you to forgive me my mistakes in the language. That the nervous to talk these things that we love so much in Portuguese, but in English you have some difficulties. And we have been created this Institute of Education a few years ago, a long time ago, truly, because on our cities in Brazil, the peripheric zone, I don't know this is the correct name,
Mm-hmm.
we found childs 9, 10 years old that cannot write his names.
Mm-hmm.
We found young people that are conclusion the studies just before the university, for example, that cannot read or cannot produce information to write.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the difficulty of our education in these zones in Brazil, in another countries, less development. So I thought, my God, I have now three kids, right? And my son can study in a private school and dream about the university. He did this graduate and now his master degree because he see this, because he was educated. And these childs, these young, that we should be loving and equal as my son, because in the modern spiritualism we learn that we all brothers, we all equals. We have to love not just our genetic family, but these childs, these kids, and the youngest needs help to educate. So we create a non-profit organization, and just to collect the help from our friends to pay the rent, to build a way to cook. We have a restaurant inside our organization because we have lunch every day from all kids and all these young, and using our friends volunteers that teach math, teach Portuguese, teach science, teach arts, just to complete the education that they have in the regular schools, because the regular school are with many difficulties to educate as they deserve. So that's the work. Affect with Pestalozzi, we learn from Pestalozzi to love the education, and not just a work of a weekend that we can and gave some food to these families, but each day work, day by day, doing education. In other time they go to school in the morning, for example, in the afternoon go to our institute, and the same way they study in regular school at the afternoon goes our institute in the morning, for example. So we have for example, a great engineering, that is a friend of mine, that there in the institute is a little professor of maths.
Mm-hmm.
I have some friend is a doctor in biology. There's in our institute. She teaches the simple science because you have to look at these families as an opportunity to learn to love, educating, to learn to love, giving some assistance to these families. Is incredible to think that we have in 2020, and we are from 5 minutes by car from someone that don't have food to eat. That's the reality of the country. We have to do something. That's the reason that what we create. And I ask you license to tell this. I choose to live in near them. So I'm going to live in the favela. I don't know the word favela in English.
Yeah, we use favela or slum.
Favela,
That's good.
I live for 5 years in the favela near them to learn what they pass in life, just to collect information. How can we contribute educating? So the basic system is donations that we receive and get transparent with our expenses. But the education is the principal thing that we have to do right now. Is so urgent to do this here in Brazil, for example.
Yeah, it's important that you said, Daniel, because I've been in this area of, the nonprofits for quite some time as well. And one of the things that we hear is that we have to bring dignity or the feeling of dignity to all of them. And I mean, when, like you were saying, someone that cannot read or write or even sign their names, they start learning how to do that. I can only imagine, the empowerment they feel, and like they really belong, and they will no longer need to put a cross on the place of their names, and so it is very important. Although we know that the situation of famish in the world, and even in countries such as Brazil, that is not such a bad country considered to others, but we know the reality of many places. Even here in the U.S., we know that there are places that we have this reality as well. Is still, I think, to strive to be able to give them something, and to give them this dignity and more possibility for work is such an amazing project, and everyone should be contributing to do that, no matter how small it can be. Nothing is small, right? Nothing is insignificant when we are talking about new human beings and helping each other. And there was a question from the other Daniel here. How can this help me? Right? In terms of all the knowledge, all the science, I think it's really to open our horizons and to make us realize that even before this pandemic situation that we are living, there are so many people that are in much worse condition, and instead of us being at home, I mean, this is my opinion, but instead of us being at home just complaining about life and the things you cannot do now, try to get engaged in one of those projects, in contributing somehow. And as Chico Xavier used to say, every time you have a problem, is stop thinking about your problem and start acting in relation to the problems of others, and your problem will vanish. I mean, it was something like that. Of course, I'm not saying word for word. So for those who would like to know more, see, we have multidome.org. So go there, get to know a little bit more about the organization. And remember, it doesn't matter where the organization is. Of course, as you know, worldwide, the majority of us, we are Brazilians, but we are not talking this only because it's in Brazil, but it's because there are brothers and sisters in need. There is located in one part of the planet that we can help and that we can do something. And Daniel, thank you so much for the work that you did. Don't worry, your English was quite good as well. I wasn't even expecting it to be that good because you were so worried about it.
Myself here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And you chose such a hard topic to talk about. But anyway, and thank you again for all this work that you've been doing as well, and inspiring us all to, to that this is why we study Spiritism. This is why we are learning all that we are learning, because the more we realize that we are all part of this creation, that we all have to contribute to have this beautiful creation, the more we will see our world growing and growing. Well, you have also family following you here. Elzala is here, your mom, of course, people from England, and many other friends that are following us. Thank you so much for everyone to be here. And we are going to end, as always, with a little prayer, a short prayer, just to show our gratitude for all the blessings that we have received, all the inspiration and motivation to keep on going and to be each time better. So we elevate our thoughts to God and in saying thank you for all that we have, for all that are in our lives now, that feel love towards us, that inspire us to overcome our imperfections, our difficulties, our weaknesses. And that in times like we are living, may we be even more together. May we unite our thoughts to thank our Creator for allowing us to live in such a transformative time where we all, through our examples, can help and inspire others as well. May we feel peace and harmony in our hearts, in our homes, and we send all this love and gratitude enveloping our loved ones and all those that are in need in our planet. Amen. So next week, we will be continuing with our series of talks. Stay tuned, because we are going to be announcing for you during our social media, okay? Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.